Welcome, everybody. We've got a wonderful show today. I've got my sweetheart and business partner, Tracy, here, and we're going to cover an array of topics that I think all of you are going to find fascinating. I can't wait for today. We begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all of you fantastic dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now the host of our show, the clinical director and president at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Well, I'm really excited to be here today. Trace, we've been working with insurance companies and state associations to the point where we've just about had it, haven't we?
You completely have. It's true.
I'm like it's like I don't understand where they're coming from, meaning I don't understand why they can't just adopt our law and get moving on it. I don't get it.
It's been interesting because we have reached out to so many dental associations with the solution to those frustrations that they've been parroting to their dentists about downgrading and bundling. And now that we give them the solution, it's almost overwhelming to them. It's very interesting.
Overwhelming. That's kind of funny, really,
true.
if you think about it. Well, this week I've really been thinking about Senator Christensen, who is a practicing dentist. I can't remember. Was he a pedodontist?
I believe he was pedodontist.
Yeah, what a great guy. He and they started in 2016 working on a non-covered services law here in the state of Utah. I don't know where we stood with other states though. If we piggybacked off some other states or we were the leaders in that one, I can't remember. But then 2017 hit and they took it after they did the research in 16, 17 hit, they took it to the state legislature, and then 2018 is that when it actually went into law?
Yeah, January.
That's so crazy, isn't it? Yeah, we know how that goes. So I'm kind of like, I've been thinking about these non-covered services laws. And what's really been interesting to me is how the insurance companies have done a very good job on circumnavigating these laws. And so Tracy, give an example of how a non-covered service law is supposed to work, and then how the insurance companies have circumnavigated so it doesn't work for us to be able to charge fairly for the things that we do.
Oh, wow. So you're opening up a can of worms there, but I'll try really hard to do a little synopsis here. So the first thing that we need to do is stop and look at the definition of what a non-covered service is in the state, because each state is completely different. In the state of Utah, a non-covered service would be something that it would normally be covered if not for frequencies, maximums,
plan limitations,
or other plan limitations. And that last part with those four words are where the insurance companies are using those four words to circumnavigate. It's their loophole by saying, well, it is covered, but it's not meeting our requirements. So therefore it is non-payable, non-billable. So we got to watch out for those things.
What's interesting is they added that to our law, but it actually backfired on them. It actually worked into our favor. We'll get into that in a minute, right? So but the interesting thing is if an insurance plan, like, okay, let's just back up. I take and sign up for a PPO contract. And by the way, let me just back up here real quick. A good friend of mine works for a dental company here in Salt Lake City. He always is throwing different podcasts at me to listen to. And he said, Rob, listen to these guys. This podcast, they're actually they're presenting stuff that you guys kind of present there at My Practice, My Business. And so I listen to the podcast, and the podcast host has this guest on board. This guest on board had insurances, discontinued having insurances, brought insurances back onto his practice. And he said, the problem is we don't read contracts, and there's actually profitability within the PPO plans if we would actually read and study the contracts. And I thought that was really interesting because we've known that since 1991. But the host, and we've been teaching it since 2004 and formed our company in 2006. And what's really interesting is the podcast host says, oh my gosh, we could be paid for value-added services. I've never heard of such a thing. This is like amazing. This needs to be, shouted on top of the mountains. And I mean, the podcast host was just going over the top with praising this guy about it. And it just cracks me up because it's stuff we've been doing for years. And so I listened to it and I'm like, I'm glad that people are starting to, discover a few things out there when it comes to dental insurances. But I'm just going, holy cow, we have known insurance contracts. We have taught this in our company since 2006. And I hope that all of you out there are like, tell your colleagues what we do, especially all of you clients out there that have been through our training. We want to help. We want to teach docs that they can be profitable in the things they do. Now, going back to non-covered laws were put in place that when I sign a contract, when I sign a PPO plan, attached with it, except in the state of Wyoming with Delta Dental, attached with it is a fee schedule with all the CDT codes that they cover and the descriptions and the fees. And so if I do something like, say it's a oral facial image or diagnostic cast, let's use oral facial image. That's a good one, right?
That's a great one.
So if I do an oral facial image, those cameras that don't cost you guys anything and your time to take the picture doesn't cost you anything. So your team members think you should do it for free, right? Fire those team members. And doc, if it's you, fire yourself. Anyway, so sorry, I'm getting all choked up. Anyway, so I'm like, God, I can't, if they don't cover it, there is a fee attached on almost every PPO plan we have. There's a fee attached,
yep,
right?
Absolutely.
And so if they're not going to cover it, then I ought to be able to revert it back to my fee for service fee, which could be like the PPO fee might be $25. My fee for service fee might be $30, $35, $40, whatever.
Correct.
I according to the non-covered services laws that have been passed by several states, if they don't cover it, I should be paid for it at my fee for service fee. That's what non-covered means. If they're not going to cover it, they can't regulate the fee. But now what have they done?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try and say that they consider it to be inclusive, right? That's their way of gently manipulating the verbiage so the patient feels that you're doing a service that should not be billed. We know Delta Dental at one time was saying that certain codes were considered inclusive, but it was later when the patient started kicking back saying, why are you not paying for this? That suddenly they changed the verbiage on the insurance payment policies that it is included and not billable to the patient. And that's where the can of worms got opened, I think. It's ridiculous.
Not to jump ahead of the game here, but talking about what needs to be done. Our law here in Utah, you'll probably find it under its new name now, the Network Leasing, Downgrading, and Bundling Protections Law. Let me say that again. It was House Bill 359. You can still look it up on Utah House Bill 359, but it is actually called the Network Leasing, Downgrading, and Bundling Protections Law. Now, in our law, they can't bundle.
They can bundle.
Oh, sorry. I burned myself.
See, and this is where, they shouldn't be able to. But when we went against the insurance companies and really tried to work together to try to figure out how we would get this passed, we had to come to a compromise. So yes, they can still bundle, but they cannot force you to write off a service as a result of bundling. And that's where it gets really cool, because what we're noticing now in the state of Utah, since this law was put into effect in May of last year, now suddenly patients are pushing back saying, this is covered. You should be paying for it. And guess what? We're getting things paid by the insurance company because now they have no reason to allude that we should be writing things off. It's been pretty cool to watch.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. So when it comes to the non-covered laws, when they're doing that crap, so we're trying to work with our state state representative, and we're trying to get it to where that non-covered law, we need to strengthen it. They weakened it. We need to strengthen it. And how could we strengthen it?
So from what I hear, the best thing we can do is go to the non-covered law itself and look at the definition of what is not covered or a covered service. It depends on how it's been written. Anything that says other plan limitations, we need to strike that because it's an open book for the insurance companies to use any reason to change it to non-covered or non-billable to the patient, excuse me.
anyway, so, and I'm going to back up here for a minute and going back to the podcast that my buddy had me listen to. Across the nation, and especially here in the state of Utah, we're hearing people say all the time, drop your insurances, drop your PPO plans. I mean, there's consultants out there that are teaching the same thing. Drop everything. You don't need to take insurance. Well, when you're in a state that's inundated, yeah, you do need to take insurance plans. I'm tired of listening to people that are, down in the southeast corner of this nation or in other locations that are, they have plans. They have more fee-for-service patients than they have PPO patients because the insurance companies haven't inundated those areas. But it doesn't work for us in the Rocky Mountain states and the West Coast and now the Midwest. I'm sorry, but we're inundated. But what we need to be doing is literally protecting ourselves, covering these laws, and learning how to deal with the insurance companies. But what I'm getting at is in our company, My Practice, My Business, in our team training and our office manager front office training, we teach you guys how to push back. We teach you about the contracts and how you can be profitable. We are profitable every single month.
Yep.
On these plans.
Well, and the great thing is obviously there are going to be those extreme cases with insurance companies where they're just reimbursing a ridiculously low amount. That's kind of a given. But with
those are the ones you don't take.
Yeah, of course. But the majority of those insurance companies, absolutely. All day, every day, I'll take them.
Exactly. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about with the insurances. Look at your non-covered laws. Work those non-covered laws. I'm still of the opinion state law trumps contractual law, except on federal plans. But I'm still of the opinion that if there's my argument, and you know how I get on the phone and I argue with the insurance companies. If I contracted and I signed a contract, of course, this is my favorite. This is another law we need to pass. They say you will adhere to the handbook. Yeah, the handbook at the time I signed the contract, the handbook can't change. I don't know of any contracts that you sign that have open-ended change capability. That's the stupidest thing I keep hearing all the time. So, but if there's a code and a description and a fee and they don't cover it, and then they say, but it's not billable to the patient, no, I'm going to start pulling that non-covered service law a little harder, and we'll get back with you guys. We're going to see. We already pull it on a lot of stuff, but I'm going to take it to another level. Do you have any thoughts on that, hon, when I start doing that in the practice?
No. And you know what's really fun for me is we have pushed back with these insurance companies. And I think there is a fear that if you push back, you're going to get kicked out of the network. No, absolutely not.
Doesn't happen. Yeah. Well, we beat that topic up for a minute. Do you have anything to add to it?
No.
I mean, there's a lot we could
There's so much more we could say, but
that's just the point we're going to cover today. Second topic, we have 4 topics here today. The second topic is office manager training. And Tracy showed me something on the office manager networking group last night. And one wonderful person asked a question. What was that? How'd that question exactly get phrased?
I thought it was really cool actually watching this, but the responses kind of did make me laugh a little bit. It was, hey, you wonderful people, what did you do before becoming an office manager? And some people talked about their actual job backgrounds and some talked about their educational background. So hearing those responses and reading them with Rob, boy, that was pretty amazing.
It really was. And this is the dichotomy of dentistry that you guys have heard me talk about. We dentists do this to office managers all the time. Everybody else gets formal and on-the-job training, except the office managers. They only get on-the-job training. There's only a couple of them that actually had business degrees, some MBAs from... I saw some MBAs. We didn't notice any from really strongly accredited universities. Most of them were online stuff, but at least they had that background in training. And I'm sure that the dentists that they work for, hope those dentists are super grateful for those people that have combined formal training with on-the-job training. But here was the thing: is as I read through it and I saw all these office managers stating what they did before and how they just learned how to manage dental offices along the way. And some of them stated that there were certain institutions that they went to, and got further learning. We've also had so many of our clients come through our OMFO training very business-centered training that we have here at My Practice, My Business, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never been through training that is like this and any of those other entities that are out there that promote business train or I should say office manager training, because our training is taught by people with business degrees, real world experience, and taught how to streamline the office. And my heart just went out to all those people. It really did, Trace. I'm like, when I read through that, and I told you last night, when I said I honestly feel bad for all these office managers out there that have had to learn on the job, because there's so much that they don't know. And there's so much that they're leaving on the table that they could be bonused on, you know. Mm-hmm. So I feel bad for. They don't know what they don't know. And you got anything to add to that?
You know, I was thinking about putting myself in that position, right?
You weren't. Well, you kind of were in that position
I was.
Years ago.
Years ago, I was.
Tracy was that person.
I was that person.
That's why she can talk on this topic and talk on both sides. She can talk about intelligently on both sides.
Well, and you show up at a dental practice with somebody who tells you how things should be done. And if you have no prior experience to draw from, then it is what it is, right? You just take that as face value and you trust it. But when suddenly you start looking at things from a different perspective, which thankfully that's what we do, right? We say, this is how you've been doing it over the last few years. Is there perhaps a better way? And let's look at the contracts and so on. But I think also when you are in a position where you're struggling to keep your head over and above the water, and you're feeling overworked and overwhelmed and underpaid and underappreciated, then yeah, I think that you do tend to lean towards some of those other programs that maybe will give you more of a pat on the back and a camaraderie.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
And I think that's why people love it.
They do. That's what those programs do. It's like stand up and, give yourself a cheer, rub the shoulders of the person next to you. I've been in those. I paid for those trainings.
Well, and I think in a sense they do need, on a small scale, they need something like that. But now that you've got that touch, that feely, great, fuzzy feeling, now we need to address it from a business perspective. And that's what I love about what we do. Now
come train with us. And we're going to help you take your practice to a whole new level of, and what's the most, what is the office manager's most important responsibility in the entire office? Number one is
profitability.
Oh, I know. And what's really fun is we had a group come through a training a few weeks ago, and this one office manager from one of the offices, she nailed it. And of course, she has a business degree too. So I'm like, she gets it. She got it right off the bat. But profit and profitability, that is number one. Everything else falls underneath it. And bless the hearts of these office managers and front office team members out there. There's no real business training out there for you guys, except here at My Practice, My Business. And that's the one we take you out to Hawaii on. Mm-hmm. We also have taught here at our training facility, but my gosh, you deserve the breakout in Hawaii. And tell your dentist, let's invest in you. That's what kills me. We invest in everything else in the practice, but how many dentists invest in the office manager and the front office team members? How many?
Oh, zero.
Nearly zero. We've seen a couple throughout the years. Literally out of thousands of offices we've trained, hundreds of offices that have been through the intensive training we have. It's like we've had two. Actually invest in them. When I say invest in them, paying for them to go back to school and take business classes.
You know what I just thought of right now? And this is off the cuff, but you know what? I'm thinking about those dentists who might think, well, I don't want to invest. What if they leave? And I'm realizing that we have a guaranteed 5 times your investment when you go through training with us. So
I don't know what else to say. It's like, I don't know where you can get a return on investment like that with a guarantee. That's what's funny.
Yeah, that's great.
But that's the kind of training we bring to the people that come through our training. So, and I know many of you out there that are listening right now that are in different states, and you've, begged us to train you through Zoom, and we did that through COVID, and it was difficult. Very, very difficult. And I told you a few podcasts ago, we are creating a curriculum just like the universities have with an online curriculum with testing and everything. It's coming. Gosh, we were so close. I'm just going to say we're probably a couple months out. And I get it that it's expensive to bring your team out here, to pay for their wages to be out here and everything else. And we hear you, and we're responding to your needs. And just give us time. But we will not guarantee the training per se with the with the online version that we'll have. Because when we have you right in our office, we can see your eyes, we can see if you're on the phone. I can shoot you with my taser, get you off your phone, and it's. We can make sure that you're ascertaining the information given and that you will be able to implement and apply it immediately. We will have a much more difficult time with the online training, but we are putting in as many safeguards as we can to help you be successful. So I just want you guys to know that. Anything to add to that, hon?
I think you said it perfectly.
Gosh. Okay. Topic number 3. Here we go. Investing in your office manager for office team. Doc, how about just invest in you? And Tracy and I have been to Disney Institute classes, and I just finished another one. And they are fantastic when it comes to learning about the customer experience and giving that customer just the Disney experience or the best experience possible. Nobody does it better than Disney. They do it to 24/7, well, they're not open 24 hours a day, but they do it 10/7, 365. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
They are fantastic. So, one of the things that came out and that I just want to share with you guys, they were talking about values and vision. And this is what really hit me hard. Great leaders don't resist or fear change. They embrace it or even initiate it. I want to talk about that because we had a couple of docs that came through one of our intro courses for the umpteenth time. I don't know. And both of them are signing up for training. And the one guy has been noodling on what we do for over 18 months. And the other doc, 3 years. 3 years. So if you guys are listening, you guys are great leaders, but don't resist or fear change. Embrace it and initiate it. Initiate the change. So I'm speaking out to all of you in other states. Initiate state laws. Call us. We're happy to give you more information to take to your state association leadership and anybody else you're going to be working with. Don't fear the change. Embrace it. Don't resist it. And that's what we see continuously. You guys resist. It's almost like you don't want to be profitable. It's almost like you want to wallow in quagmires of silly sectarian beliefs that you've had for years because you feel like you've got to give it away. And then you have team members that have that same thought leadership. It needs to stop.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing is the gentleman that came the other day that had been waiting 3 years to start training with us, he said, my biggest fear was having the patients be upset and leave. And I kind of chuckled to myself because, you think of all those experiences where you're given a choice in the business and you don't get angry and leave over that. That's just not something that we see. So those are unrealistic thoughts that he had. And it took him 3 years to realize that he was being unrealistic with his thought processes.
Well, and he wants to deliver the best dentistry that he can with the training that he has. And so a perfect example would be, crowns. You've heard me talk about crowns. Not all crowns are created equal. I don't care if you have CAD/CAM or if you're ordering from a lab. You can produce a very nice, stained, beautifully matching crown, both anterior and posteriorly. You can put in a beautiful anatomy in it with your CAD/CAM technology. That takes time, doesn't it? Time's money. And it's like you can offer that to your patient, or you can just mill a zirconia, polish it up, and shove it in. You can just do an Empress or any MTL crown if you get a little lucky on that, and it hopefully will match. And just put it in. Call it a day. Or you can put that custom staining in of sunset, of I1, of blending some colors in the transition zone because the MTLs don't cover everything. Okay? So these are things to consider and think about, but they don't all have the same cost associated with it. And so you offer that choice to the patient, and that doc was afraid that if he offers that choice and charges the patient more, that the patient will leave. And Tracy, what's taught in every MBA program?
Choice promotes trust.
We're sitting right here. I don't never know. She's getting like, what's taught in every MBA program? You dentists don't know business. That's what's taught in every MBA program. You know, I don't know what she's going to say. I just hope we've taught this together for so many years that it's a power play. So yeah, my gosh, you guys, again, I just want to hit it again. Don't resist or fear change. Embrace it. Initiate it. Live with it. Love it. That's what's fun. Dentistry's fun. The technology changes so much. Gosh, we had another doc come in the other day, and lo and behold, I'm actually related to him. It was kind of cute. But it was fun talking with him because this guy's on fire. This guy loves technology. This guy is eating it up. He is enjoying dentistry. And he's going to be charging for it when he comes through our course. He's going to be able to do things financially that he's dreamed of doing, and he'll be able to do it a lot easier. But it's fun to be on fire like that, fun to embrace change, and I would call that guy an initiator, and I love it. Our fourth topic, and I'm going to touch here, and I hope I don't offend any of my good friends out there that are listening, but I'll tell you, Tracy and I have been doing this case study now for going on 4 years, and we've been watching behaviors and contracts and seeing why dentists do what they do, why they make the decisions that they make, what precipitated it, and it's going to come down to this one topic: dental service organizations, DSOs. And I think they have a place in dentistry. I'm not going to knock that place, but let me give you some fair warning on some stuff that I have seen. They all claim to have something special. Every single one of them. We have seen this with so many DSOs that have come to us wanting to do training. We've been hesitant. If we train an office and they join a DSO, we'll embrace that. We really want to just stick with the solo practices because let me just say this right now. All my good friends that are out there in solo practice, come through our training. Come through our training. You do not need to ever worry about supplies and labs and all the buying power that DSOs have. Nope. We'll teach you how to be profitable, and you can enjoy dentistry and enjoy life. Okay. They all claim to have something special, but what we've been seeing is they don't. They say they don't have control, but they do. They say they give autonomy to the docs, but it's controlled autonomy. And I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure it's a good idea. In fact, I can give a bunch of reasons why it's not. Then they lure docs in with what's called EBITDA. EBITDA is a business financial acronym, earnings before amortization, depreciation, blah, blah, blah. And taxes, EBITDA. They pronounce it EBITDA, but it should be almost pronounced EBITDA. Anyway, and it's this magical, mystical term that they throw around that if you join the DSO, you're going to get, 6, 7, 8 times your EBITDA. And every single time we have looked at this, that EBITDA is going to be at 100% of your collections, plus or minus 30% more. That's all we've ever seen. We have not, there's got to be practices out there that have done a little bit better, but the large majority are that. And then I got notes and did some studies, and there was about 3 years ago, there was a big convention for DSOs down in Vegas, and it was sponsored. I want to say it was sponsored by Henry Schein Dental was one of the main sponsors of it. They've been going into a lot of support with DSOs and kind of given solo practices a back seat. That's their decision, not mine. That's my observation. Whether they want to admit it or not, we've actually seen those reports come right out of West Allis and Melville. So, and for you Henry Schein people listening, when I start throwing those names around, you know what I'm talking. I know what I'm talking about. So it was interesting that whole thing down in Vegas. literally was telling the financiers and the business people that are running the DSOs, you guys take the majority of the sell when you guys go to sell to a corporate entity. You don't need to split it equally among the dentists. You can just take the majority of that, because if you give them a 1 to 1.5 times what their collections were at the time, they're going to be so happy anyway. Oh, there's a lot of money to be left on the table, but for the dentist. But that's what happens. Now, docs, here's what I want to tell you. When you sell like that, you are going to miss out on all the tax benefits. Hopefully, you're going to a decent CPA, like using a big company like CBiz or Merhoff McCann. CBiz and Merhoff McCann. They just call them CBiz now, I think. CBiz or any of the larger firms, there's CPAs that specialize in dentistry all over the place. If you're using a CPA firm like that, those of you who are using them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But as soon as somebody else owns a percentage of your practice, you lose that. And what does that add up to over the 5 to 10 years that you're in that DSO waiting for the big sell to happen? And then what happens during the state of the economy like it is right now? Because if you go to sell right now, you're not going to be making much of anything. You have to wait for the upswings in the market. You have to wait for the economy to do well before those controllers up there that are controlling the DSOs will make the most money. And I dare any of them to call me out on that, because they know exactly I know what I'm talking about. Now, what are the benefits of belonging to a DSO? I think any corporate practice or DSOs for people coming right out of school. If you're not comfortable in your DDS pants, then maybe that might be a place for you. But let me tell you something. Solo practice is where it's at. Absolutely where it's at. You need, again, to be a great leader that's not resisting or fearing change, and you embrace solo practice. In fact, you initiate it, just like I was taught in my Disney Institute class. Okay? So I'm not real comfortable with DSOs. I'm seeing a lot of stuff happening with them. It's causing me some consternation. And we're having a struggle in our company whether we want to be working with any more of them than the ones we're already working with or not. Trace, did I miss anything?
I think you nailed it on the head. And I was just thinking while you were talking that you and I had a discussion last weekend about really the goal of what we do and where we want. And we kept going back to the fact that we want to help solo practitioners succeed in their business. Solo practitioners. And we want to put you in a position where you don't even need to consider something like that. I want you to be successful so that you can experience that wonderful trickle-down effect that your team members also will see as a result of you being more successful and profitable.
Well, the amount of autonomy and tax advantages that you lose once you sell out to a DSO versus being a solo practitioner, those are huge. Nobody adds those up. You start adding those up, but like I said, over 5-10 years' time, you've exceeded your 1.5 EBITDA. So, I don't know. It's a tough deal, deciding what road our company wants to run down. But there's a company called the Dental Cooperative here in Utah. And I actually have heard some people say, cooperatives have bad names to them. And Tracy and I went home the other day and we're like, God, farmer cooperatives, farmers love them. There's all kinds of cooperatives in different business aspects, and now there's a dental cooperative, and we've seen nothing but good out of the dental cooperative of the state of Utah. We're not putting a plug in for them. I am a member, and I don't take advantage of all the things they offer, but the things that I do take advantage of, I have a big whopping $275 a month payment, and we average $1,700 to $2,600 a month in return on that investment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's too bad it wasn't we put more money in and got a big return like that. It's not like an investment thing, but it's they do a really good job on protecting the solo practitioner, and they work with solo practices, and then the solo practitioner sells out to a DSO, and then they find themselves needing to work with the DSO a little bit, but their thought leadership is they're solo practice centered, and that's what we like about them. They're trying to help out the solo practice, with supply chains and stuff like that. But boy, I'll tell you, their insurance negotiations are second to none. And what here at My Practice, My Business, who knows insurance? We know insurance inside and out. And so we love them for that. They are doing a great job with that. And then credit card processing, and a couple of companies that we use with them, and then everything else. We love Patterson Dental. We use them constantly on top of that. So it's like between the dental cooperative and our training mostly, then the dental cooperative a little bit. They're all my buddies at the cooperative. What do you mean? What do you mean a little bit? But you know what? That's just fact. It's just factual. What we teach and train on, you're going to jump 25% in new net revenue with the things you're doing currently right now, plus or minus a couple percentage points.
Well, and looking now at all the topics that we've discussed today, I was thinking about how they really tie in, and it's ultimately, I think the goal of what we're trying to say this podcast is there are resources available to you as a solo practitioner. You have laws that currently are in effect as they pertain to non-covered services that you need to really look at.
Yeah.
You have additional training that you can look at through other entities, and of course, that would include us. You've got other cooperatives and that will help you with getting better deals on possibly supplies, credit card processing, negotiating with insurances. There are so many great things that are available to you. And if you have any questions or don't know where to start to try to find those sources, reach out to us.
We're happy to help, whether you're a client or not. As many of you know who have called into us, we definitely are happy to help. Well, Trace, this has been fun because these are things that have actually just been on our mind that we've been thinking about for months. And so I really love the fact that we've been able to talk about these things openly, and I hope all of you are starting to get your thoughts generated about some of the things we're talking about here. And if you haven't been through our training, we hope to see you there. And other than that, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you guys again. Take care.
Thank you for being with us today. Since 2006, My Practice, My Business has been teaching dentists and their teams business skills, dental insurance contractual protocols, and state laws governing how to profitably bill patients fairly for the need-based services they provide. What's more, we guarantee our training, unlike other dental consulting companies in the industry. Simply stated, if you don't increase your net revenue, we don't get paid. We call it dental consulting the way it should be. We believe there has never been a more important time than now for dentists to experience and implement our key methods, knowledge, and business training within their dental practices. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company and the services we provide. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the most profitable dental business training that you will ever experience. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.